It never knocks. It slips in quietly, during the last scroll before sleep, in the lonely hours when your brain softens, when silence wraps around you like fog. That's when it arrives. A grainy video. A soft piano track. A soldier surprising his daughter at school. A stranger covering a single mother's groceries. A boy hugging a dog at the edge of a gas station parking lot. You feel something. You don't know them, but you care. You don't ask who filmed it, or why. You don't notice the perfect framing, or the fact that the lighting, somehow, is always just right. You just watch and let it in. The algorithm smiles. You think it's chance that this video stumbled into your feed because it's popular, or relevant, or just the kind of thing you needed to see today. But what if that wasn't true? What if your emotions were being calibrated? What if the warmth was a weapon? A 2022 whistleblower report from Meta's Internal Research Division, redacted but partially released through a third-party digital ethics group, revealed chilling phrasing, empathic hooks, content formats designed to simulate intimacy and regulate dopamine variants, effectively managing the viewer's resistance to sponsored content, ads, and even political messaging. These weren't just cat videos and reunion clips. They were experiments. And you were the subject. YouTube data scrapers have since confirmed that the most viral, touching shorts, particularly those under 60 seconds, follow eerily similar structures. A rapid empathy trigger within the first 3 seconds, soft lighting, a handheld-style shake that suggests authenticity but never loses focus. Comments are flooded with the same phrases: faith in humanity restored, I didn't expect to cry tonight, this just healed something in me. Thousands of comments. But almost no original posters ever respond. And here's where it breaks open. Multiple high-engagement kindness channels, each claiming to showcase organic, unscripted moments, were traced back to content farms in Shenzhen, St. Petersburg, and even Macedonia, the same digital territories infamous for political psyops and botnet propaganda. IP overlaps. Reused footage with digitally altered faces. And accounts that, upon investigation, post nothing else. No home videos, no personal updates, no real identity trail. Just carefully curated emotions, on repeat. On Reddit /r/unresolved mysteries and /r/truefilm, users have begun to ask the same question. Why are so many of these supposedly random acts of compassion shot from multiple angles? How did someone know to film before the moment unfolded? And why are so many participants strangely attractive, well-lit, and mic'd like Netflix extras? In one case, a homeless veteran, helped by a passing stranger, was later found to be a minor actor from a local commercial. In another, a child reuniting with her lost dog had appeared in 2 separate videos, years apart, with different names, but the same dog. This isn't about faking emotion. It's about weaponizing it. Because when your heart opens, your critical mind dims. It stops asking where. Stops asking who. Stops asking why now. And while you're watching, while tears rise, while hope floods your bloodstream, trackers log your pause rate, your comment language, the precise frame that made you smile. And that data doesn't just sell toothpaste. It builds emotional profiles. Your digital soul. Your algorithmic reflection. The version of you that machines understand better than your mother ever could. This is not conspiracy. It's architecture. These touching moments don't just soften you. They retrain you. They teach you to trust the feed. To accept surveillance as compassion. To welcome manipulation as meaning. And worst of all, to crave it. So next time a stranger hugs a sobbing child in a parking lot, and the camera just happens to catch the exact second their eyes close, ask yourself, who was filming? Why were they already recording? And why did you see it tonight? Because kindness doesn't always knock. Sometimes, it just leaks in. She's standing in a field, maybe Ohio, maybe nowhere, gripping a string with a note scrawled in shaky marker, "Please bring my daddy home." A balloon lifts into the sky, pink and trembling. The camera tracks it as it disappears into a wide, forgiving sky. The next shot, she receives a letter. Then a ticket. Then, the reunion. The crowd erupts. The child cries. And the internet folds itself around the story like a warm blanket. You've seen it. You remember it, but you don't remember asking the questions. Where did the balloon land? Who found it? Who funded the flight? And why did the original video vanish for 12 hours before returning with a different upload date and altered metadata? That's the thing about miracles. We rarely look too closely at the stitching. In a thread buried deep in /r/creepypms from 2019, a user posted about losing a sibling. No location. No identifying details. Just grief. 3 days later, they received a handwritten letter, quoting the post, calling them by name. Postmarked from out of state. No return address. Their comment history was scraped. Their GPS disabled. And yet, someone found them. The thread is still up. Moderators marked it unresolved. Several other balloon miracles follow the same arc. A child writes. The sky answers. The algorithm delivers it to millions. But buried in the code, patterns begin to echo. A freelance videographer credited in 3 separate viral reunion videos has no listed agency, no commercial clients, no online presence prior to 2017. His portfolio page is a single looping video, password locked. Inquiries go nowhere. His business address leads to a closed church in rural Utah. Then there's the DARPA file. Declassified in 2018, buried beneath unrelated contracts, a 2004 memo outlines sentiment modulation through orchestrated narrative events. The term, uplifting provocations. Staged feel-good anomalies designed not for national morale, but for emotional telemetry, measuring how a population responds to spontaneous hope. Each event logged, analyzed, harvested. Not for persuasion. For mapping. What makes you cry? What makes you share? What makes you trust? A social nervous system exposed, one balloon at a time. One thumbnail, showing a father-daughter embrace, was flagged by a reverse image search. It led not to a news source, but to a crisis actor's demo reel uploaded 3 years earlier under a pseudonym. The actor's agency denied any affiliation with the balloon video. But facial markers matched. The embrace was staged. And yet, millions believed. Because we want to believe. The child. The note. The sky. We want the world to answer us when we ask gently. But what if the answer was planted? What if the miracle was engineered, not to heal us, but to watch us heal? In multiple fMRI studies, scientists tracked the neural response to emotional reunion videos. The scans were consistent. Activity surged in areas linked to memory, identification, and trust, the same regions targeted in trauma therapy and political messaging. One researcher referred to the results as emotional cartography. Not just studying feelings, but mapping them like cities, like terrain. So next time you see a child let go of a balloon and you feel something in your chest, that sharp little ache, ask yourself this: did she let it go? Or was it released, for you? The lens doesn't blink. It waits, still, quiet, reverent. A man kneels beside a coffin he's never seen before, presses a folded check into the trembling hands of a stranger, and says something soft. A mic picks it up, perfectly. A woman cries. A child clings to her side. A crowd watches. You watch. The comments section weeps. But no one asks who was filming. Or why the camera was already rolling before he stepped into frame. Or how the audio, in the middle of a windy cemetery, is cleaner than most documentaries. You're not watching a funeral. You're watching grief theater. In 2023, an internal document leaked from TikTok's content moderation team, labeled HAC Group B, Emotional Resonance Directive, encouraged the seeding of high-effect morning content between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. The goal? Increase late-night viewer retention by targeting emotionally porous states. It worked. Users who watched a grief video were 43% more likely to watch a second. And a third. And then in ad. On /r/insomnia analytics, amateur data miners noticed an odd pattern. Whenever a funeral kindness video trended, a stranger paying for a burial, a man giving flowers to a sobbing widow, spikes appeared in Google Trends for terms like can't sleep, feeling heavy, and late-night medication. The effect wasn't isolated. It was predictable. Programmable. You weren't just watching death. You were being emotionally destabilized, then served a solution. And behind it all, the channels that push this content most aggressively share peculiar fingerprints. Metadata shows they use identical tagging structures: emotional, kindness, humanity, loss, tears. Their monetization partners? Obscure ad firms with ties to pharmaceutical conglomerates marketing SSRIs, melatonin, and off-label sleep aids. One ad client, linked to a top-performing grief channel, was acquired in 2021 by an AI-driven neuropharma startup in Basel. Their specialty: emotional response prediction at scale. But that's just the back end. The front-facing footage, the content, holds deeper fractures. In multiple videos, the funerals shown are later contradicted by obituary records. In one case, the video was uploaded before the stated death. In another, mourners in the background appear in separate, unrelated videos as different characters. Same outfits, same faces, different grief. And still, you cry. You pause. You comment. Because the ritual of watching pain feels like connection. But it isn't. In fact, multiple psychological studies now confirm that repeated exposure to stylized grief content doesn't foster empathy, it dulls it. The more pain we witness through a screen, the less compelled we are to act in real life. The term used, empathetic deflation. We are being trained to consume grief, not to feel it. To nod, not to reach. They don't need to make you care. They only need to keep you watching. Because every second you sit with a stranger's sadness, every tear you feel but don't shed, the machine grows sharper. It knows which deaths grip you, which faces trigger pause, which stories keep you awake. And slowly, piece by piece, it learns to engineer your ache. So the next time a stranger pays for a funeral on camera, and the crowd weeps as the screen fades to black, remember, someone filmed that moment on purpose. And someone else made sure you saw it. Right beta footage begins with a shiver, not from cold, but from knowing. A child hands a snack to a crying stranger in an airport terminal. A teen kneels beside a man on the sidewalk, wrapping him in a jacket 3 sizes too big. A soldier hugs his dog at the arrival's gate. You feel it. You almost cry. Almost. But something in the back of your mind whispers, who filmed this? Not just who held the camera, but who knew when to press record. Who stood in silence, waiting for the script of life to hit its cue. And why did it reach you, tonight, now, alone in bed with your screen dimmed low? These are not uploads. These are deliveries. Open source researchers on /r/documented mysteries have begun to untangle a network of anonymous production teams, moving quietly between cities, staging random acts of kindness, with actors, audio rigs, and pre-blocked camera positions. Their company names vanish within weeks. Their online presence redirects or dies. But their footage lingers. Millions of views, hundreds of copycats, each one feeding the machine a little more precision. Follow the IP trails far enough and you land in strange territory. Shell corporations connected to soft power advisory boards, behavioral modeling firms, and university labs with military-adjacent funding. One group, Cedra Institute, denied involvement, yet their logo briefly appeared in the background of a now-deleted video involving a spontaneous father-daughter reunion in a shopping mall. The uploader account was linked to a metadata cluster tied to surveillance research. And then there's Project Candescent. Unconfirmed for years, the name slipped through in a redacted FOIA request related to DARPA civilian monitoring programs. The project, according to the heavily blurred summary, involved the deployment of synthetic emotionally positive content into civilian digital pathways to observe response behavior across socioeconomic strata. In short, seeding feelings, watching who feels what, and how long they stay online afterward. Leaks from inside Google's Deep Sentiment Labs, a department now quietly folded into its AI forecasting unit, mention something called sentiment loops. These are not algorithms. They're moods, rotated by hour and demographic. Loops that predict, then prescribe which emotion you're likely to respond to and which video will deliver it. Grief at 2 a.m. Nostalgia at 7 o'clock. Unity at noon. Loneliness at dusk. Optimized for region. tuned to nation. The targeting is not random. Single mothers shown tearjerker dad content. Aging men served clips of young men respecting elders. Every video engineered not to inspire action, but to reinforce behavior. You aren't being moved. You're being measured. And what do they do with your feelings? They store them. Run models. Shape policy. Adjust headlines. Test loyalty. Because in a world driven by sentiment, the one who controls what you feel controls what you'll do next. So next time you feel your chest tighten, your throat catch, your eyes sting from the glow of someone else's redemption, rewind and ask, who filmed this? Who paid for it? And why did they make sure you saw it tonight? For sleep. It doesn't matter what the video was. A lost dog finding its way home. The parents surprising a child after years apart. A stranger singing to an old woman in a parking lot. You watched. You cried. And in that breathless second, when your body leaned forward, when your guard dissolved into salt and memory, they saw you. Not in metaphor. Not symbolically. The system registered you. A file updated. A signal pulsed. And something not human, whispered, this one responds to grief wrapped in hope. Former moderators have said it plainly, we could see what made people cry. It wasn't anonymous. The data didn't come from clicks. It came from how long your face lingered in the front camera. The way your pupils shifted. The tremble in your breathing. You think your microphone's off. You think you have control. But biometric syncing isn't a conspiracy anymore. It's an asset. Deep in a patent filing abandoned by a now-absorbed Silicon Valley startup, there's a phrase that appears 12 times. Emotional moment recognition via breath pattern telemetry. It sounds absurd until you look at the upload timing of certain videos and compare it to the software updates of major phone manufacturers. They didn't ask for permission. They just updated the terms of service. Patterns reveal themselves if you know where to look. The same piano chord progression. The same saturation curve. The same archetype, stoic father, fragile child, sudden reversal, relief. Different faces. Same story. Again. And again. And again. Because once the system knows what opened the door, it walks right back through it. The final leaked slide, buried in a DEF CON back channel, never verified but never challenged, read like prophecy. Emotional compliance is more stable than ideological belief. They don't need you to think. They just need you to feel, predictably. Because the mind resists, but the heart obeys. You'll forgive the ad. You'll tolerate the surveillance. You'll share the video. Because it moved you. But why did it reach you? Why didn't I? Because you cried before. And it remembered. This was never about joy. Never about beauty. It was always about access. Access to your inner room. That place inside where memory bends, where fear lives, where love still aches. The moment you wept, that was the key. You gave it freely. No one forced it. That's why it works. So now, as the next video plays, another perfect moment, another ache disguised as hope, remember, they don't want your opinion. They want your response. They don't want your trust. They want your opening. And they already have it.